Welcome back, everyone, to theCUBE's live coverage here in Paris, France. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE for the Raise Summit 2025. It's a two-day conference here on the international stage in Paris. Obviously, global gathering, a lot of US, a lot of European. You know, it's a global community as we look at the sovereignty and the AI infrastructure expansion, bounded by energy. The growth is incredible. Of course, Coreweave is leading the way. Mike Mattacola, GM of the international group at Coreweave. Mike, great to see you. Thanks for coming on theCUBE. Congratulations on the Coreweave success. We got friends that work there. Get the AI factory pumping on all cylinders. First question is, you get all the latest 300s?
Yep, yep, so the first Dell rack, we were just talking about Dell, so the first Dell rack, we received that, and it's now in a lab, and we're running it as hard as possible, and getting it ready for customers.
You know, I've been in this business for over 30 years, theCUBE, 16 years. There's this phases of, data center gear lovers, and then like, let's talk solutions. Now it's back to speeds and feeds. But I remember back in the day when you go into a data center, it's like, man, that's a beautiful rack. It's wired, it's beautiful. Now I see the pictures of Dell's AI factory, and it's like a cathedral.
Yep.
They're beautiful, right? I mean, so NVIDIA has really done an amazing job of building, aesthetically looking. Of course, the demographics want to see nice gear, and they're loud, okay, but we'll give them that.
Yep.
They perform well, but just the whole resetting of the thinking around what a computer is.
Yep.
It's been really fun to be part of that wave. You guys are leading the way with NVIDIA. Talk about that relationship and how that's enabling you guys to bring that value to the market, because a lot of investments, you're starting to see the harvest coming. People here are seeing lines of sight on visibility of the unit economics, the value extraction, and the robust entrepreneurial ecosystem as well. It's not just the enterprise, it's builders across the board. Give us your view on the relationship with NVIDIA and how that's enabling you guys to be successful.
Yeah, so John, thanks for having me, first of all. So, look, the NVIDIA relationship goes back a long time now, and one thing I would say is it's really hard and well earned. So ultimately, we brought H100s to market first, about 9 months ahead of the bigger players. We brought H200s to market first, GB200, and then as of last week, we announced GB300 as well, coming to market. So we've been incredibly busy. This doesn't mean that we're receiving, we may be receiving the racks and infrastructure at the same time as others, but we've really fine-tuned our ability to get hold of the infrastructure and get it online and running as quickly as possible as well. So I think if you look at the relationship we have, obviously with GB 200 and 300, we've been working with Dell to get that launched to market, and this has literally been a Coreweave team, a Dell team, NVIDIA team, working day and night in our data center to get this stood up and troubleshoot and online for customers as quickly as possible. And the complexities of launching Blackwell now, I mean, every time something new comes up, you're going from hundreds of thousands of failure modes to into the millions now, which you've got to have a software stack that is capable of understanding and observing everything that's going on, and making sure it's running for customers. And what we've done best is, we've really fine-tuned the process of receiving the infrastructure, plugging everything in, testing it on our stack, and then get it in the hands of customers as quickly as we can.
What I love about your business is that one, and we'll get into the international things in a second, but like what these GPU clouds have shown is that the systems architecture isn't yesterday's rack and stack. And that there's actually real density involved. HBM's a significant part of the success. And as you get stuff closer, getting that data as close to the processing as possible. Just as an aside, Intel's in free fall. Just in the past year, Intel's market share has dropped from 73% x86 to like in the teens in 1 year. I mean, that's mind blowing. That just goes to show you that the script has flipped. How would you share that narrative, explain that to someone who's in the general purpose, IT, enterprise market, who's like, they're struggling with the generations of procuring gear or product and doing IT. I mean, besides the agents will be the new HR department, which by the way now believe that to be true because you know, they are evaluated on tasks and did they do a good job. So, but the engineering involved is significant. You guys have done the work early on and continue to with AI factories.
Yep.
What's different? What is how do you explain that to a common techie data center person or someone who's actually trying to leverage as much service to get that intellectual property called the data working?
Yep. So I think there's a couple of things. Obviously, NVIDIA has been innovating at the speed of light, and if you look at the NVIDIA organization, we've all heard the stories, so it's very flat. There aren't lots of layers. Leaders have like 10s or 20s of people working for them, and that just enables them to move really fast, less meetings, less one-on-ones, just make a decision and go on the same day. So, if you look at that, you mentioned Intel and other like legacy companies that have been in this space, they just haven't done that, so they're slow at the end of the day. But the way NVIDIA has adopted that is pretty unique, and we try and do that as much as we can as well and mirror that so we can move quickly. The other thing I would say, which I don't think gets talked about often, is the supply chain.
Yeah.
So this is a gargantuan supply chain. So if you think of our world, we're working on acquiring power like years out, we have to. So particularly if we're building something from new, we need to get energy from the grid approved, and then we need to get the site ready, build a data center. But the point you were making around infrastructure and how it's changing, obviously in some ways it's good because it's consolidating. So with GB200, you've gone from a diverse supply chain and now you're pushing that into a rack with a huge consolidation of everything going into a single rack. But managing that supply chain is really critical as well, right? Yeah. So you can't just get the bright idea one day, hey, I want to buy some GB200s and I'll order some, they're going to turn up next week. You need to be doing that 2 or 3 years ahead, and making sure that everything's like hitting the ground at the right time so you can move quickly for customers. So I think obviously the way NVIDIA does things, the innovation cycle, the speed they move at is really unique, and their structure supports that. Obviously we do the same, but I think you've really got to be working multiple years ahead so everything can come together in the supply chain.
And NVIDIA's innovated too with NVLink and then KV Cache. They're engineering a lot of the fabric around the chips, which helps too.
Yep.
How is that changing some of the software paradigms? Because we're seeing now software stacks, certainly at the platform engineering side, we've seen Kubernetes rise up, certainly in the enterprise become an orchestration layer for some of those platform, DevSecOps, DevOps crowd. But now the